Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We're now on Instagram. And to find out about other shows and future shows, you can look at our website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Toby Walker, who's a guitarist and owner of Toby Walker Music. And Toby, you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. Okay, so you want to give them a wave? You want to say hello? That's Toby
Oh,
Walker. Okay. And Toby, first of all, I'd like to welcome you to the Asheville area because I understand you're relatively new to the Asheville area.
yeah, I'm probably this Thursday. It'll be 7 weeks.
Okay, well, welcome aboard. I should also mention that Toby is internationally and nationally acclaimed musician, and he's been hailed as an award-winning roots music fingerstyle guitar virtuoso and tenor storyteller and songwriter who's toured the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and Europe. His style blends blues, ragtime, country, bluegrass, old-time jazz, and rock into their own style. He has received numerous awards, including being the first place recipient of the International Blues Challenge Award in Memphis, the New York Music Award for Best Instrumental CD. He has also been inducted in the New York Blues Hall of Fame. And now, most importantly, Toby, you've been a guest on the Blaine's World webcast. So
I'm here.
you've hit the big time, guy.
I hit the big time.
Okay, let me ask you, Toby, I always ask this when I meet somebody for the first time. As a kid, you grew up where?
What's that now?
As a kid, you grew up where? As a child?
I grew up out on Long Island, New York.
Oh, we have a commonality. Me also. We're on Long Island.
Brentwood.
Okay, further out. I was Freeport, then Long Island. Okay, I was on the
Brentwood.
South Shore. And so when you were growing up on Long Island, did you always know you wanted to be a musician?
I knew it when I was 14 years old.
What happened
I
to what happened to 14?
At 14 years old, I got turned on to some really cool music, the Rolling Stones, stuff like that, and that I just loved listening to it. And then I had this little guitar in a closet, and I decided, let me try this out. And within a matter of, about a year, I got myself a little band, and that was it. I just thought to myself, I don't want to work in a factory, and I just want to play music for a living.
Did you ever take lessons?
Yeah, I took some. I took some classical lessons for a few months, and I took a few jazz lessons, but that was it.
Okay. And so around 14, you started, you had your first band. How old were you with the first band?
I was 15.
Okay. Do you remember that? Do you remember your first gig?
Yeah, I remember the first gig. How could you forget the first gig? It was a party. It was like a birthday party for somebody, and we were downstairs in the basement. We brought in all our instruments and set up the drums and everything, and we were just, all the kids, they didn't even realize, I played, and we were just like the biggest thing there.
What was your first paid gig? Did you get paid for that one?
No, no, I didn't get paid. I forget what the first paid gig was. I think when I was 16, turning 17, I started getting into some paid bands, and when I was 17, I was in two full-time bands. So I was making some pretty good money.
Because I'm surprised I'm looking behind you. I don't see the framed check, your very first check or very first payment you ever got. But that's pretty cool. So at 17, you were playing in two bands. What kind of bands were they?
One was a classic. Well, they call it classic rock
Rock,
now.
yeah.
But I mean, it was we did a lot of rock music. We did a lot of blues and things like that. And the other one I was working in was a soul band. So we were playing a lot of Cool and the Gang and Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder, things like that.
More importantly, I'll have to ask you if you ever played my favorite group of all time, the Turtles. You
Oh
know,
yeah, no, never did any of the Turtles.
Turtle, I'll have to turn you on to them a little bit. But anyway, that's pretty cool. So 17, then you were pretty much getting into being a musician full time.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I was at
And
between that and school, high school.
okay, and can you imagine the nerve you had to go to high school? It interfered with some good stuff you were doing.
I didn't let it interfere because I cut class a lot, so I just did that. And then I took off from home when I was 17 before I graduated. So I didn't have, parents or anything telling me what to do and this and that. The other thing, I was just living over at friends' houses and they played music. So
Well, you mentioned your parents. Were they supportive at all, or did they ever become supportive of your music career?
not really.
Never?
Nope.
Okay. So after you graduated high school, what did you do then from a music standpoint?
From music standpoint, I got picked up by a really cool band. It was a full-time country rock band, depending on where we were playing. Um, they wanted me to be the lead guitar player, and everybody was about 10, 12 years older than I was. So I was out on the road with these guys for 11, just almost a little over 11 weeks straight.
I mean, that's pretty cool to be 17, 18, playing with all these older guys,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it was. It was really cool.
you kind of fit in. So trace it then from there. So I got a little bit how you got into music. How'd you get from age 17, 18 to where you are now? Kind of Reader's Digest summary of your music
Wow,
background.
that's a big jump. Well, I mean, well, I busked a lot. I hitchhiked across the country a few times with a buddy of mine, and used to busk for music like that. And then when I was 20, a guy that owned a music store asked me to teach in the back of his music store. So I was making some money that way, and then playing on the weekends, and it just kept on going. It just kept on playing with different bands. And then eventually I decided I didn't want to split the money anymore, so I decided just to go solo.
Now, busking, did you enjoy doing that?
Yeah, oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean sometimes you only had to know 5 songs because no one would stay there for more than 5 songs. So you could just keep doing them over and over again. But I had a lot of them.
So where do you busk?
Oh, that was in the streets of, I lived in Greenwich Village for a while. So I used to busk in Washington Square Park. I used to busk up on 14th Street, up near Broadway when the plays were letting out. And then cross country, it was wherever we weren't going to get chased off a corner.
So when you were busking, and I'll ask you a little bit about the guitars behind you. What kind
Mhm.
of guitar were you playing then?
I was playing an acoustic guitar, just a regular folk guitar, wooden guitar. That's what I was playing. And I had it plugged into it was a little battery powered pig nose amplifier.
Right.
So it would really kind of project pretty loud.
But it did the job though, right?
Yeah, it did the job. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so behind you, I see two guitars. What are the two guitars behind you?
Well, this one is an acoustic guitar. I use this primarily a lot when I'm teaching and when I'm performing. The make is called a Huss and Dalton guitar. They only make a few hundred of these a year, so they're pretty solid, great guitars. So that's this one. And then this one was actually I found out later on when I bought it. It was actually owned by Mary Chapin Carpenter
Oh.
before I bought it.
By the way, how many guitars do you have?
Uh, well, how many I had? It was in the 40s, but I probably have about several now. That's about it.
Okay.
And this one is a steel guitar. It's called a National steel guitar, and it's got little cones in here that just sort of resonate. These guitars were made probably in the late 20s and the early 30s. Yes, and then yeah, they're just cool guitars. I like playing them.
Well, and looking at them, they look brand new. I mean, somebody must have
Well, this
taken,
one this one isn't brand new. This one's 2004. This is like a remake.
yeah,
But I used to have one that was from 1930, and I had another one from 1928. So
yeah. It's amazing they still keep up. They still can be played. And since you
yeah.
have it on your lap, let me ask you. So now this one, would you be busking this kind of guitar or the other one?
Uh, I would more than likely I could use both of them because they're both amplified, so I
Right.
can I can put them into an amplifier and I can play them.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
rather than having you put in an amplifier, since we have you here, could you give me a brief sample, let's say with this one, the one you have in your lap, say something
sure.
you'd be playing.
Well, this one I would use what's called a slide. These things you put them on your finger. There's a long history with these things. They go back actually, I mean, they go back a long, long ways to when we annexed Hawaii back in the 1920, and the Hawaiian musicians came over and they were playing this, and blues musicians were playing this as well. So, so there was a tune by Tampa Red. He was a guy that recorded in late 20s and early 30s. He came out of Chicago. I'll just give you a little brief
If you would, please.
sound, but that was
Very cool. The
yeah.
that song, I should ask you, how many songs do you know?
That I could just play off the
Right.
top of my head. Probably without having to look at lyrics, maybe about close to 70, 80. But if I had some lyrics in front of me, it could go up into three, 400.
Now that's that one you just played. Are there lyrics to it also?
Nope, that was actually part of that. I mean, improvised a little bit, but that was a tune called the Boogie Woogie Dance. And that was recorded in 1930.
Okay, very cool. I just love the sound of that, and the guitar is just fantastic.
Yeah, this is a cool guitar.
Great sound. And we talked a little bit off the air, but let's talk about if people want to see you, for example. You were telling me that one of the things you're going to be doing, especially when you come into the Asheville area, is you also do house concerts. I know,
Yeah,
and what are they all about?
oh, house concerts are great. I mean, house concerts, they're real intimate. You have like maybe 20, 30, maybe 35, 40 people, depending on if they're inside or outside. And it's just a lot of fun. A lot of times I don't even need amplification. I'm just in there and I'm just playing and singing. Sometimes it's in people's living rooms. Other times, like there's one I'm going to be doing. And in fact, if I just get my glasses here, there's one I'm going to be doing, and people can find out on my website about this, but it's called the Snookville House Concert Series. That's going to be in Asheville, and that's going to be in April 14th. But people can go on my website, which is just Little Toby Walker, Little Toby Walker.
How come you got little Toby Walker?
Well, I had a friend of mine introduce me one time. I was about 21, 22 years old. My friend Irv he was like doing my sound and everything. And you have like little Walter, he was a harmonica player, and little this and little Montgomery. And he just one time, he just turned around and says, "Hey, it's little Toby Walker." And he just sort of stuck. So
Yeah,
it's
like like
littletobywalker.com.
like little Stevie Wonder, but you were little Toby Walker. And so
Yeah.
you mentioned the website, but the house concert. Now, can other people come to that, or do you have to know the people?
No, no, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be more details on my website because that's going to be in April. But people go to the website and they go to the calendar and they can just see everywhere I'm going to be playing. Yeah,
Okay, and so that's what they call you, little Toby Walker.
little Toby Walker.
You know, Asheville, you could have reinvented yourself, and then big Toby Walker. Let me ask you a question, Toby. I always wonder this too. When you play, not that particular song you just played, but
Mhm.
when you play a house concert, how do you feel about people singing along with you, or do you like just performing yourself?
It all depends. Like if they know the lyrics, they can sing along. And sometimes I just plan maybe. Well, I never really. I sort of plan. I sort of plan gigs when I'm playing. I write out set list. It's like Linus with a blanket. You know, security thing, but I by the third song I'm totally off it. And sometimes I may think of a song that if everybody looks like they're the type that they would like to sing along, I'll do a sing along with everybody.
You have a particular type of music you like best?
Wow. Uh, yeah, I like so much stuff. A lot of it's eclectic. I could tell you more that I don't like than I like, you know, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I mean, I have a playlist on my iTunes that it just runs the gamut of just about everything. Hard Chicago blues, old country blues, old time music. There's some bluegrass in there. There's some rock. There's Django Reinhardt jazz. There's Charlie Christian. It just is. There's Tex-Mex music. It goes all over the place.
Okay, that's probably fun for you though, playing, different stuff. Let me ask you this question too. In terms of before you have a gig or a concert, do you still practice?
Yeah,
How,
absolutely.
how much do you practice?
It depends on what I'm doing. Like right now, I'm working on an extremely difficult instrumental. It's the Stars and Stripes Forever. It's the entire band. Yeah, that includes piccolo parts and things like that. So it's an extremely hard piece. So I'll tend to work on that an hour or so a day. And then there's other things that I do. So it really depends on what I'm doing. If I'm preparing for a tour, I'll probably practice maybe 2 or 3 hours a day. If I'm preparing for a recital, that could be more. It could be all kinds of things.
You mentioned the piccolo. Do you play the piccolo also, or are you just the music?
No, my fingers do.
Okay,
Yeah,
really? Well, I saw with that instrument, but since we're talking about the two guitars I have, if you kind of get the other one out, just talk a little
yeah.
bit about that one also.
Sure. This one, has a whole different sound. Has a whole different sound, and I got into what's called finger picking very early on. I think I was about 15, 16, and I started learning how to alternate the bass with the thumb pick. So you get, and then you just add melody. So you can get actually sound like a full band,
It does.
but
It sounds great.
because I also thank you because I also played a lot of lead guitar in electric bands, like doing. So what I did was I just decided to put that alternating thumb and a lot of the lead that little things like that. And then like in the blues, you have like a shuffle sound like this. And because what I would do is just put a lot of. So I would play a lot of that type of style. And then, you have these beautiful arrangements like Somewhere Over the Rainbow or Oh Susanna that I would do. It's highly. So that's a whole different thing altogether. I do like a lot of swing music, and then some Fats Waller. So it just goes all over the place.
Let me put you on the spot. We didn't practice this, but taking this guitar, give me a brief sample of you singing something too. So take any, are you up to
Uh,
that?
sure. There's a tune that I've been doing lately. It's just. Yeah, snapping of her fingers makes a dog wag its tail. Whistle from a voice makes a train jump its rail. You take her to a racetrack, she just shows her face. Horse ain't won in years, comes in first place. She's into something, the gal is into something. She's into something, man, you ought to be into something too. Yeah, so that's like sort of like a funky thing. So I sing, at times.
What song is that?
That's a song called "She's Into Something." It's just about a woman that just has the best luck of all. She no matter what she does, she just falls into it.
Or woman must she must have fallen into you. It must have been, that's it. It's a song that after you. I'll
Yeah.
talk a little bit also. I mean, I'm really impressed with, how many different things you do. You also, teach and talk about your teaching a little bit.
Sure. I've been teaching since I was 20 years old, and that's a good 10 years ago. And no, but I've been teaching, out of a music store. I was teaching at the back of a music store for a long, long time, and then I was teaching just privately. And then I started getting, as I was starting to getting more well known, I was having some pretty influential big people asking me to teach at their guitar camps. So there's Jorma Kaukonen from Hot Tuna and from Jefferson Airplane. He had a guitar camp. He still does, and he had me teach at his guitar camp. Woody Mann had one in Manhattan. There's a bunch of them. There's another one right near Asheville. It's called the Swananoa Gathering, and they have me teach at guitar camps. Big guitar gathering out there. So I teach also. I teach online private Zoom lessons, and I also have a whole nother website. It's just tobywalkerslessons.com. And that's actually videos that people can either stream or they can download and learn how to finger pick like I do.
What's the best way to learn?
The best way to learn is the first thing you got to start out is you got to want to learn.
Okay.
That's what I mean. You have to have some kind of motivation, some kind of intention. But then after that, it's really just a matter of having a goal and having a guide, having a sort of like a plan to get there. And usually teachers or well-structured lessons can provide that for some people. I think one of the worst ways to learn is just going, haphazardly on YouTube or things like that, because it doesn't give you any direction.
Well, that's interesting because people can learn certain stuff on YouTube, but you're raising
Sure.
a good point. If you want to learn it, I guess from soup to nuts, best thing is to have an instructor, or, as you said, a plan
Yeah.
to uh,
Yeah.
to
And
learn
you don't
it.
have to, yeah, you don't have to be learning to be a professional or a virtuoso or anything like that, but just some kind of way, a structured way where you can just at least learn, just some basic chords and some strums, and you're on your way.
Did you ever have a plan back when you were in the 20s or even earlier?
Yeah, of course I did.
Well,
I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do with my life. I just wanted to play music, play the guitar, and I wanted to teach it. And at various different styles, I would just dig into a style and learn it as best as I can. And fortunately, I had a couple of really good teachers, very short periods of time. But yeah, I definitely did.
about something else you do. You told me off the air again too that you also write music or you've written music. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
sure.
Talk about that process. Do you write every day or sit down
No,
to
I
write?
don't. I'm not. I mean, I write songs. I've written a lot of songs, but I'm not what you call a full-time songwriter. I really consider myself a guitarist who happens to sing songs. I just really I like the guitar first and foremost. But the process of writing a song, sometimes I'll just get an idea and I'll just think to myself, well, that would probably make a probably a good song. And I'll start out with a melody or some type of melody in my head and fool around with the chords. And once I have that, I'll just sit and I'll just start going for long walks. That's what I do. I can't sit there and write lyrics. I have to go for long walks and think about what I want to say. And once I start fitting that into the melody in my head, that's how I do it.
About how many songs have you written?
Wow. Uh,
Ballpark.
That's pretty good. I would say a little less than 100 and a little more than 50. I don't know, somewhere in there.
Now, after you write the song, where does the title come in? You have the title first or after you write the song?
Uh, Sometimes I no, I guess the title comes as I'm writing it, and sometimes I don't even know where the song's going to go. It just sort of goes somewhere.
Now, after you finish the song, do you then go back? Does it get revised or do you change it at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
over the
A lot
years?
of times I'll write it, I'll record it, just at home, and then I'll just let it. Like I've got four or five of them that I haven't. I started maybe about 4 months, 5 months ago, and I just let them. Yeah, I just let them percolate in my head, and then I go back and I look at like a little video that I made, and I'll say, oh yeah, that's where I was going, and oh wow, I have different ideas now.
Now, the process. So after you write the song, do you then copyright it, or where does that come in?
Well, you can copyright it, yeah. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, the old way of doing it was just sending it
Right.
into,
Yeah.
the copyright department in Washington, D.C. But pretty much now, what I do is, if I'm going to record it and then release it, I'll do that whole copyright thing. Yeah. But if not, I just play them.
Now, the industry certainly has changed. Like when you first started writing music and performing, did you actually cut records or do you have CDs that you had
Yeah.
put together?
When I first started, I was with a few different bands, and they made records. I don't even know where those things are at this point. But they had records to sell at the bandstand, and I was on a few of those. And I did a lot of studio work with a lot of other musicians. So I don't even know where it is. I mean, I even did studio work for Duck Dynasty.
Okay.
Just in the seventh season, I did probably about 30 or 40 little things for them. Yeah, but when I first started, I actually, the first thing I ever did was a cassette. It came out on cassette, so I made a cassette. Yeah.
Well, I still have what is my 8-track tapes, you know. There's not much of a market for 8-track tapes, but it's not the same. I don't know about you, but I used to love CDs, you know,
Yeah.
and I still have my collection of CDs. I still listen to them, but there's no such thing anymore, you know, CDs. Cars, you probably know, you can't even get a car with a CD player anymore. You know, it's just
Yeah, I know.
it's a shame,
Well, what I've been doing is I put like the CDs that I have.
right?
I have a new one out. But I mean, I put the music on flash drives.
Okay.
So I'll offer CDs because some people actually still have CD players, and then I have flash drives if they want to, pop it into their computer, and the MP3s come on up.
So that's certainly changed, I guess, in your lifetime. Music delivery has certainly changed over the years, you know.
Let's not even go there.
But
It's musicians get the real short end of
well,
that.
no, exactly. You know, I was saying when you had a CD, you could sell it or whatever.
Right.
Now, you know, it's online or Spotify, whatever, but they do get shafted, you know. It's a shame. No, but when it
That's a
is,
real polite way of putting it.
well, yeah, I can say that, but you know, but yeah, it's a shame because you have your music and people want it. Well, question to ask you. So if they want your music, what do you tell them? Where they get it?
Well, they can go literally, they can buy it on iTunes and
Right.
things like that. You could do that. You could come to a show, and I have CDs and flash drives, so you can go out and buy that. That supports me. That puts gas in the car. Or you can just, listen to it for free on Spotify, and let your conscience tell you exactly what you're doing for the arts.
Yeah, but it's a shame. Talk about where you see well you going. So in terms of you're now into Asheville, you're going to be doing some house concerts, you're going to be doing some teaching, other cool stuff. Do you have any, we talk about plans, any plans for the next 5 or 10 years? Do you see yourself doing? Any grandiose thing you
People
want
always
to
ask me that. I mean, I just
do?
keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, I'm just consider myself absolutely lucky to have gotten away with what I do for so long, and to be able to at least support myself, because I've always been able to support myself doing this. I've had other odd jobs here and there, and I've had a job I did for a while, but I was always able to support myself solely with music. I mean, relatively.
Well, I guess you've been blessed too, in that it's obvious that you enjoyed doing it as well, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh
and
yeah.
and all the stuff you do. So we've talked about a bunch of them: house concerts, writing, teaching, performing. Do you have a favorite thing you do?
A favorite thing I do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I eat chocolate. I go hiking.
I meant music wise though.
Music wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, music wise, it's whatever I happen to be working on at the moment. Like I'm going to be doing an online concert tomorrow night, right from here. So I just kind of like have bunch of songs that I think I may want to do, and I just put the list in front of me, and then I do what I do. But yeah, someone once asked Frank Zappa, if he had any hobbies. Dick Cavett once asked him that and Frank just looked at him like this and said, "Well, you mean like bowling or something?" And he said, "No." He says, I mean, this is just what I do. I like doing other stuff, but I usually like doing physical things outside. I love cycling and I love hiking and things like that. So
And you mentioned something you're doing tomorrow. It'll be online. Talk about that. What exactly is that?
yeah. Well, if people again, if they go to the website littletobywalker.com, there's matter of fact, they can either get the concert, which is going to be tomorrow night, and actually 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. So I put it on two different time
Very
zones because
nice.
I have a lot of people over in Western Europe and in the British Isles where I tour. They like to see it, so it's early and late for them. And then I do a guitar workshop the following week for all the guitar players out there. So
And I'll be via Zoom
yeah,
for workshop. And so, how many people can that take? Or is there a limit as to how many can sign up?
no, no limit at all.
Okay. So
I mean,
anyway,
I'll cap it at 10,000, but yeah,
I was going to say, you really? Okay. 10,000. So sign up soon or you're going to be shut out of this. But
that's
anyway,
it.
um, I'd like to thank you, Toby Walker, for being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World
Sure.
webcast. And one more time, if folks want to keep track of you, the best bet is the website, you would say?
Yeah, they can keep track of me at littletobywalker.com. And then there's a link, there's a lesson site. That's Toby Walker's Lessons. And just one thing I want to add before I go is in the fall, I do this almost every year. I tour over in the British Isles. I've been doing that for like a lot of years. This year is going to be my 15th tour over there. So yeah.
And you're also, are you on Instagram, Facebook, any of that other stuff as well?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I think I'm on Instagram. People have told me that.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'd like to thank you for being my guest this edition of Blaine's World webcast. Also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti. Hopefully we'll bump into each other sooner rather than later, Toby.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and I want to give a big thanks out to Linda Panulo for turning me on to you, and a big plug for the Guitar League in Asheville.
Okay.
That's a really cool organization. I just joined it, and it's a whole bunch of people that get together and they watch a little concert and then they all play music together. A whole big bunch of guitar players just love sharing what they do. So
Very cool. And
that's
since you
the
mentioned
Guitar
it,
League of Asheville.
so just look up that Guitar League of Asheville to find it.
Yep,
Okay.
they will.
Well, thanks for mentioning that. And like I said, hopefully we'll bump into each other sometime in the not too distant future. Thanks, man.
As long as we don't bump into each other too hard, Blaine. Thanks a whole lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, my pleasure, man.